How you doing? Uh, Today would be a good day to talk about watches. It's the 1st of July. We've got we've got a little time. Hey, Brian, how's everything going? Sound and video are good, thank goodness. I haven't screwed something up yet. That's good to see. Um, so uh, all kinds of stuff going on. Um, one thing that I thought might be interesting to kick around is that there was a one of the comments that I got on a video is guy said I'm new at watch collection and I'd like to find reliable dealers. As who's a dealer that you can always count on, and that can be a tricky question. Hi, Martin, how you doing? So I thought that might be one that we could sort of consider is that what really makes a reliable. I mean, obviously, someone who tells you the truth. Um, I just went through one. I was gonna get one of those Boccia doors, what are they called? The E Pures with the Girard-Perregaux movement. So and there was one that was like $1,000. I figured, okay, that I can handle $1,000. And so I contacted the guy and made an offer. And the guy was like, no. And so I offered a little more. Is no. So finally I said, would you mind if you'd, some people have been saying that this particular model, even though some of the E Pures had very clear evidence that they were Girard-Perregaux movements, I began suspecting it because some other people were saying, hey, it just got a Solita ETA movement in it. So anyhow, so finally I contacted the guy and I said, what kind of movement do you have? And he sort of had turned the rotor so I could see it. And it was a Solita. Now, the thing of it is, from my viewpoint, why don't you have that? Because this is on Chrono 24, and Chrono 24 has a place where you can go for all of that stuff. Anyway, so what are your thoughts on that? Hello? No thoughts? Hey, HRM. There's a Boucher Monero peripheral for sale in the US for 3,100. Has been for sale for quite a while. That's something else I want to mention to you. Hi, Caesar. How you doing? Um, yeah, there was another guy who had his. There was another one. I thought, well, that one, that Bouchador is not doesn't have the kind of movement that other ones of the same model have. But I guess the ones that had the higher movement, the Girard-Perregaux 4000, were the ones in gold. And so there's another one called Rip something. I forgot the name of the other one. It's a squarish one. I thought, well, I'll check them out. Well, I found one. Again, it had the Girard-Perregaux movement in it. And I think the guy wanted three something for it. And so one of the things that I found really helpful, I went to Every Watch, and the thing had been for sale for 270 something days. So I figured, well, I'll put in something, not unreasonable and see what the guy does. Well, I just sort of said no. That was it. So I gave up and I'll wait. I'll bide my time like a good vulture. And the airplane to Bahrain, please don't bomb anything around here. I'll get stuck here forever. Uh, I hope they don't. I wish this is Man, I'll tell you, um, ah, it seems like everything is gotten a little crazy now, Caesar, and it just bothers me no end. I don't wanna go off on our current administration, so I won't. HRM, I'm just afraid maintenance will become an issue for those Berkshire peripheral movements. Um, yeah, that's a good point, HRM. Now, see, I wouldn't worry about that for Boussiador because they have Girard-Perregaux movements. I mean, and nor if it had a Salida or an ETA movement. That's one thing I wouldn't worry about. But I wonder, the other thing I wonder is that how many gears in the Boucher peripheral movements are compatible. Now, I know the peripheral movement, which is it's not a peripheral movement, is it? It's just a peripheral rotor. Um, would that be hard to replace? I don't know, but it's a good. I mean, it's something worth looking at. Typing out on an airplane. Yeah, you're right, HRM. Um, the next thing you know, you're in Guantanamo or someplace. Yeah. Okay. Um, Caesar, be sure not to let anything happen. God, I, it's become so common now. I mean, all of this stuff going on. It just people are doing well. They've always done crazy things. Let me tell you a story. My grandfather, actually, was it our great grandfather? He was a grandfather. I had one grandfather, my dad's father, who was from Kentucky, and there were a number of I don't know what you'd call them. They were like not subpoenas, but indictments or something. I had all of this paperwork, and I had a bunch of copies of it, and one of my sons has it now. And I was looking at the kinds of charges, the kinds of criminal charges they had back then, because this was in the early 20th century, the late 19th century. And beside the beautiful handwriting that they had, and it was cursive writing, it looked almost like it was done with the what that art that they do with writing. They 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 were the same crimes we have today. People keep talking, oh boy, there's crime all over the place. It's true, but two things to consider. One, the population of the world is probably double at least from what it was back then. The other thing is that we have instant communication. Something can happen in China 5 minutes from now, and we'll find out in 2 minutes later. I mean, that's or even somebody can be in an airplane talking about the importance of law and order, and we'll find out about it real quick. Um, hey, how you doing, Graham? We used to smoke in airplanes. Yeah, I know. We smoked in theaters too. Back in the day, yeah, it's been. I quit smoking about 42 years ago, and I'm so glad I did. I used to smoke a pipe. I smoked the cigarettes for God about too long, about 10, 12 years, and then I switched over to pipes. Um, and then I smoked the pipe. Quitting pipes turned out to be very hard because you got a lot of support with cigarettes, but not with pipes. My poor brother, my kid brother now he's in bad, near fatal situation because of that crap. So what am I going to do? Uh, something, Brian, also HRM. You can use that as a bargaining tool. That's what I do anyway. Whether you want to follow bad advice or not is up to you. But if someone say, "Look, you guys, I'll give you X for it," I can have it as long, and then if something goes wrong with it, I'm up the creek. So you might want to consider that. Hey, Benjamin, how you doing? Calligraphy, that's the word I was trying. All of these legal forms, arrest forms, and all of this stuff was done in this handwriting that did look like calligraphy. A friend of mine managed to buy a Hamilton Orris last week, 21 jewel manual wine. Oh, piece from the 1920s that used an authentic reverso case. Huh. It was before LeCoultre. That's interesting. I went to Albania last week, and they still smoking indoors. Yeah, I had a quick stop in Albania a few years ago, and I have a friend. I've had a couple friends from Albania, and something about Albanians I really like. It was they, they're- they've had a streak of bad luck. They really have historically. I mean, I think it was starting with Italy's invasion during World War II, all the way through. Then they got this crazy communist leader who built this huge thing, and they overthrew him, and then shot him and his wife, and then they went into a new thing. And what they did, there was a con man came and ripped off everybody. He said, "Oh, welcome to capitalism. Let me tell you, here's a great deal for everybody." And they all invested in it and lost their shirt. So it was a Ponzi scheme. Hey, Tuna. Yeah, Caesar. It's something that I think a lot of God. It's some people have a very hard time quitting smoking. I know that, and just like they have trouble not buying a watch, I guess. Benjamin, how are you? Pieces on Vincent. Oh, Calabrese seem reasonable from an AHCI founding member. Yeah, is there a reason for that? Yeah, I think the reason for it is, well, two reasons. One, I think Calabrese wanted them more reasonable, but also he uses ETA movements. They're usually inexpensive movements that he uses. You know, that's something. That's another thing we ought to think about doing. You know, another way I can get us all in trouble. Um, and that is uh, talk to Vincent and say, "Look, Vincent, we got a bunch of guys who aren't as dumb as they look, and we'd be interested in sponsoring a CalCIS movement." And now a CalCIS uses, instead of a hairspring, uses something that looks like a hammer. Um, and I wonder whether he'd go for something like that. He did his test of what is it? Uh, proof of method, I guess. Proof of concept is what it was. He did one, and he used the Salida movement. And there's the old. It doesn't have a hairspring. It's got this other thing that Vincent is just saying, "Hey, that'd be a great thing to have." So I thought, oh, what we ought to do is say, "Hey, look, you know, we don't know what we're doing. We'll back you." I don't know. Just an idea. Hi, Al. A little, Benjamin, not very much. Just pretty much what I've sent him. Good. Yeah, that is a good point. Yep. Something that becomes rare. Speaking of rare ones, I have a Beauvais Monorattrapant, and Phillips was going to put it in one of their auctions and didn't decide which one to put it in, and they're working on it and stuff, and they still have it. They've had it for months. So I better go get it from them. They send me my monoretro pont back. That's a rare bird. Yeah, it is, Tina. Man, I tell you though, if you can, it's it's well worth it. Hey, Washington football fan. My Parmigiani Hebdo leather strap is in sad shape. Is there a way to source a Parmigiani bracelet? How expensive would something like that be? You want a bracelet for that? Oh boy. It's funny you should ask because my friend Fernando has a Kalpa and the bracelet broke in one little place. Now, if you want a strap, another leather strap, that shouldn't be too hard. Um, I go to sales that they have at ABP Concepts Paris, and they have sales all the time. Their straps are very expensive, but then they'll have a sale with a really good one. So Washington, that's what I would do. I'll tell you, uh, if there is there a shop near where you are. I mean, there's got to be someplace. If you're in the Washington area, or either that or a Washington football fan who lives in Podunk or in Bloomfield like I do, there probably won't be much. But in the Washington, D.C. area, there ought to be a lot of places that you could check out. Either that or if you get to New York, I think, trying to think what they have, the Parmigiani. Hang on a second. Let me check something real quick. I have these cards that I have. I do. I still have it. Let me check here quickly, see if this is. There's somebody named Betsy Borkowski, okay, Betsy Bork, okay, who is the East Coast sales manager for Parmigiani. And Parmigiani Fluie Americas, she's located in, or the card is anyway. She told me, she said, well, I'm from Connecticut. And so I don't know where she is. She might be in Coral Gables, where the card indicates. But if you'd like, what I can do, I can let me see if I can do this. Hang on a second. What I'll do, you want to take a picture of this so you can see it? Would that help? Yes, no, or hey, Abdul. Okay, hang on a second. Let me get that for you, Washington. 1 second, please. You know, it seems that business cards are so fast, and a lot of them have the QC code on it. Um, but I tell you, they're really useful. Hang on, let me put my light on here. Take a picture of it. Let's see if I can get this thing up there without breaking anything. Okay. Okay. Hi, Dartmouth. How you doing? I put this up here for you. Hang on a sec. Make sure that nothing breaks. Okay. Okay. Um, Let me give you that. For those of you who are Parmigiani owners, this may come in handy. Hang on a sec. Um, there you go. If you can take a screenshot of that, you can do it pretty quickly. I'm trying to remember where I met her. Um, I don't know. My friend Fernando was doing a lot of stuff with it. Anyway, I agree with Abdul on that. There are a lot of really good brands that are they're not doing great as far as keeping the price up. Their value doesn't change, but their price is important to, you know, if that's what we're looking for, and we are. That's I think most of my collection is basically based on that. Is that finding really good quality undervalued watches, and they go up and down all the time. So yeah, Abdul. Is the man Derek Pratt? What? He Derek Pratt. Derek Pratt was an Englishman who lived in Switzerland, who was a good friend of George Daniels and did all of these great things for Urban Jurgensen when he was alive. He died rather young. He died of cancer. So there was something that is anything about Derek Pratt. Though I would love to get one of his watches. There were some guys who were gonna do sort of a try to do a Derek Pratt one or watch that Derek Pratt wasn't able to finish, and they were going to do it, and I never knew they were the people involved in it. Some were not people I cared to deal with, but and also of course the price was really high too. Okay, Washington, I'm getting blamed for that. It's just it's just, my wife says the same thing. Everything is my fault. So there. Uh, oh, those Chopard Quattros, yeah, those are nice. The ones that I really like to get my mitts on one. I don't know if they have any left, but those are the Parmigiani Toric. Um, what do they say? I think they're called QLs or something. They have the ones that were sort of they've been gone through the same thing that a Geneva seal has, and they have a couple of those been up there, and they're about 10,000, which is about half or a third of what their MSRP is. Oh, okay. Okay, so there's someone named Luca Soprana, and they made a Derek Pratt watch. Ah, thank you. Thank you, thank you. That looks interesting. Okie doke. Um, all right, if we could for a while, Creedor, yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of those things. I found some more just this morning, Abdul. One I found with oh, what was it? It was a dual time hand date, just cool looking watch, and they had a bunch of them, and they were all very well priced. I think that's one that the Creedor is one that's been overlooked. You know what happened? I think was that everybody got so excited about the Grand Seiko, including the Seiko people, that they almost forgot about Crador. I don't know, but whatever happened, it's a good time for I think for a lot of us watch collectors to get in on some good buys from them. That's my now if you get one and it doesn't work, like Washington football, they can blame it on me. All right. Hmm. Benjamin, has anyone had luck with getting allocation? Oh, good geez, for Naya Hilda. I hear the allocations are mostly to his friends. Imagine so. I don't even know who that is. Um, I think some of the that makes sense. So I mean, if you have a watch that there's a high demand for because you have good quality and you have a good price, there's going to be a lot of demand for it. And so having your friends who probably talked you into it in the first place, sure, they get first dibs. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Retailed around 27,000 and now under 5,000. That is good. Okay. Let me go back to this topic if I could that I had started off with. A lot of you guys weren't here when I first fumbled around to get started. Um, that is, the beginner asked in one of the comments that I got. He said, "You know, how do you find a reliable sales source?" Okay, in other words, a place you're not going to get ripped off, and are going to treat you right, it's going to deliver what they advertised, and are sensible about negotiation. And the more I thought about it, I was thinking, "Well, what happened to me? Well, I got screwed this time, and this time," and then I learned how not to. But the other thing I I remembered is that there's some people said, "Oh, you got to go to this place. These guys are great," and then other people have said, "Those guys burn me." So, it's one of those things that is, I don't know. I guess after a certain point, once you're experienced, if you get burned, people figure, well, the guy's not as experienced as we thought, or as he thought. I don't know. Any ideas on that? What are your thoughts on that? What do you tell a beginner? Um, one of the things that I would tell a beginner is that, of course, what Abdul and I always talk about, and Brian and some of the other guys, do your research. Before you buy anything, do whole lots of research, talk to as many people as you can, and then see how everything works out. Um, And like I said, I was told not to go to 47th Street in New York, got the best deals of my whole entire collection career there, 2 FP Journes at great prices. Other people, I guess, maybe they get taken there, or maybe Federico simply is trying to move the business toward Del Rey. I have no idea. But these are kinds of things. Yeah. Yeah, I know. The reason that the people that make the most mistakes are the people who do the most. I mean, it's like I coming from an academic background, there are these one of the requirements at a halfway decent university is that you have to publish. And it's amazing the number of excuses that people have. Oh, well, I don't have it right, or this or that. And by the time they retire, they somehow got tenure, and there are other people. I mean, it's like if you don't like it, if you're in this field, whether it's English literature or engineering, didn't you get in this field to do stuff with it? And that's the same way I feel about watch collection. Learn about it, enjoy it, not because you must do this task in order to, not to get screwed, but rather to enjoy it, just a pure enjoyment of simply learning about things. And if you can't do that, I don't know, take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning. Hey, Marco. Yeah, Abdul, that's the way I look at it too. Um, Yeah, basically another name for experience is all the mistakes you made. Oh, tuna, John P. I'm not sure who John P. is, so maybe they do a good job. Look, um, one thing I would say is that there are all kinds of pundits out there, including myself. What I would, again, for a new person, new to this, is look at many as you can. And there is there are some differences, and sort of come to find out what those differences are. I don't trust the people that scream at you. I wouldn't listen to them. But even that is not totally true. When I first started, one of the first online watch guys I listened to was Archie. It was Archie Luxury. And he did back then. He used to have some really good things about different watches and stuff. And anybody who knows more than you do, that you think they're an expert. It didn't take long before I realized that I I think Archie changed a little, and we sort of went off into a direction that was Archie. And but so you're going to see a lot of different people. This is what I would tell a beginner, but don't listen to any one person. Listen to find out about all of them if you can. Some of us, myself included, are dead wrong. I was wrong about that Boucheron, the watch model that was called Epure GPHG model. They had it, and there was the old Girard-Perregaux 4000 in that watch. Well, apparently they quit putting it in at some time. Either that, or they only put it into the gold ones and didn't put it into the steel ones. And so I got misled on that. The other thing too, I was second do some. Have you noticed these are differences, okay? The one at the top is sort of what the Salida regulator arms. At the end of the arm, there's a little screw, and you turn that to regulate it. At the bottom, the ones by Girard-Perregaux look more like crab. They're longer, crab or lobster claws. And so I was trying to tell the difference between, you know, looking at a blurry picture of both of them. But those things are fun to do. Yeah, tuna. Eclectic is the right word. Oh yeah, HRM. That's a good thing. Don't be afraid of pre-owned. The thing is that as soon as something is delivered from the AD, it's pre-owned. Anything you got from that point on. No, most of my collection, the only ones that aren't pre-owned are ones I didn't know whether they were pre-owned or not. They turned out to be brand new. Um, things come up at different times and different kinds of opportunities come up. That's one thing I would say is that look for opportunities. And the only way you can spot an opportunity, if you look at the pattern, if the patterns are, let's say, some watch you like are all, let's say, between 6 and 7,000, whatever, and then all of a sudden you see a bunch that are on special for 4,000 or something like that, you only know that the 4,000 is a good deal. Again, assuming these are new watches, it's a good deal because you know what the prices were before. On the other hand, if you're not snooping around a lot and just playing, really, that's all it is having a good time. I'm going to go look at watches, and then you can stay up all night doing it. Um, or you can waste a lot of time at work, however you do it. Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing too. The in a way, people talk about what they call value retention. It's not value. I mean, value is no matter what price you have, you're gonna have the same value, pretty much so. It is that the the ones I look for are the unknown ones that drop like a rock. Price-wise. Their value's the same, but their prices from MSRP go way down here. A lot of people say, "Oh, there's something wrong with that watch." Yeah, what's wrong with it? They can't sell it. Does that mean it's a bad watch? No, it means it's not a popular watch, and there's a huge difference there. And so those are the ones that myself and fellow vultures, go to find ones that and you find you can also use that too in any kind of negotiation. Say, gee whiz, how can you expect me to pay that price when X, Y, and Z? That's why I mentioned the Boucher can't get parts. What am I going to do? You're going to supply them for me? Why don't you give me a break, and then it becomes worth it. There you go, Martin. Learn on your own. I I'm not saying there are bad people out there, but they have different motives. Okay, let's face it. If you're selling a brand, you're not going to be bashing it, all right? Or you're not going to say anything bad about it. Um, you won't find me saying anything bad about Larique watches. I'll tell you that. Um, I guess, I we don't sell them. We collect them. Benjamin, I rarely go to ADs, okay? There's this one AD in New Jersey who just is cool as you can be. I mean, cool in a cool way. And, him I like, and, what I do is that every now and then he'll have these great deals, and I'll just go to him and get one of his great deals. I got most recently, in fact, this is one I got, years ago. This is a Harry Winston with a, Agenor, bi-retrograde, module in it. I got it from this guy, and a few years later, and again, like I said, I do avoid even looking at what the ADs have. He There was something that somebody else had done, there were some prices that were mentioned. I thought, "Oh my god." And I got a brand new Parmigiani, one with the moons for the northern and southern hemisphere moon. It was the called the 1950 Lune, and he gave me another just fantastically good price. And so it's, the only reason I knew even to consider him as a resource is that when I got this guy, there are other ones who are the opposite. I don't want to be. I don't want to have anything to do with them. Yeah, I agree. HRM, $1,000, you can get a lot of good stuff pre-owned. Hi, Mr. Donut. Do I like U-Blow? Yeah, U-Blow's got their U-Blow is very varied. They get a lot of variation. The one I like the best, I forgot the name of it. What is it? I forgot. It's a pretty simple one. It's just like a three-hander, but I just like the style of it. And it's got an in-house, I think it has an in-house U-Blow movement. I'm not sure. But, U-Blow, like anything else, it depends, the U-Blow is one of those brands that a lot of it's been trolled a lot for some reason. Some people say, I hate U-Blow. I don't know why. Any more than, they're haters, I guess, for a lot of different brands. Certainly, um, Rolex is no stranger, but, you know, that's just noise in the system. Wow. Yeah, that young watchmakers, there's there are different kinds of young watchmakers, Abdul. There's this one young guy, Cyril somebody, Nadeau, I think, in France. His stuff is just fabulous. I think the first one he sold, though, was like 30,000, simoleons. Same thing. There was this one guy, one of the Chinese guys who's part of the AHCI, the independent group. I thought, oh boy, I'll contact him and see what kind of deal I can get. He was on top of that. He knew exactly what his stuff was worth. Yeah, U-Blow is right. That's what I understood. U-Blow is one that just for some reason a lot of people don't like, and I there are other people who love it. Hi, Ed. Hmm. Yeah, I think there's some real blingy U-Blows that people thought, no, that's not for them. Alberto, how are you? They put you in the envelope out the gate, huh? Yeah, really. I know what you mean by that. Oh, wow. Yeah, HRM, that's another thing too. I was going through something, I was looking for a regulator, and, one I found was a guy's project. He was a student at, one of the Watt schools, and I guess his graduating project, and he took I think he took a 6498 and moved the hour, hand up to the top. I mean, and so he had to move all the gearing up to the top as well, and so he had the hours, minutes, and then at, the, seconds down at 6 o'clock. Yeah, that's another thing you can do. This kid who works in one of our local watch stores went to the Rolex school, and he showed me a couple of his watches that he did while he was in school. Incredible. They're really good looking watches, unique. They usually have an ETA or Solita movement in them, but other than that, they've got some neat things. Hi, Zach. Do you like Casio digital watches? No, it's not that I like them or dislike them. It's sort of out of Casios are fine for that type of watch, but I'm not into quartz watches at all, nor smartwatches. Um, I I've had some opportunity to do some coding for smartwatches, but it's not what I'm interested in. Yeah, I wish I could remember the name of the Hublots, with the, style that I like, but, yeah, they do have some really good ones too. This is the thing is that people people act like certain brands of watches have no duds. Well, I don't think that's true. I think every brand has at least some duds. One of the duds that, at least in my opinion, was when FP Journe first made the line sport for this guy. There was a guy who was a runner, and so he loved FP Journe watches, but he didn't like them, but because he would run a lot, and he said he wished he had one that he could use on a run that wasn't so heavy. And okay, so FP Journe made him one, and he made the movement out of aluminum, and there were all kinds of problems with it. In fact, you can probably still get one online. It's a line sport. I think it's like God, I forgot the name of it, but it's part of the early line sports. Not a watch I would like to have at all. So even the top watchmakers can make some duds. And some more humble ones can have some great ones like, uh, Maurice Lacroix, that, chronograph they had that was designed by, Andreas, Steller. So this all goes back to the same thing that, we've been preaching about. Do your research. Just have fun doing it. Look at watches you cannot afford, you can never afford. And the reason to do that is that they may have certain features that you really like and can't afford, but then you can find them in other watches. Um, we found for example, the dual barrels and parallel. We found these in Fabre Luba watches that you could get from under $100 on Etsy. There's stuff out there. I heard that white gold is actually plated rhodium. I don't believe so. I think there is some kind of treatment that they have with white gold, Zach, but it's not that. There are different kinds of treatments. I ended up with several white gold watches, not because I I was looking for a white gold watch. The ones that I like simply happen to be white gold. And I don't, they have the heft and everything else that gold has. This one has is a very red gold, and what that means, they added a lot of copper to the gold, and in order to get more of a redder color. So, there's those kinds of things are just, fun to play around with. Tuna, huh? That's right, Ed. You don't mention those to me. Hard to dislike, quartz. John, I've got nothing against quartz. It's just, I mean, if you want quartz, get quartz. I mean, which like not everybody has to have the same thing. The quartz watches, if you like quartz, they're great. In fact, they're probably more accurate than all of the ones we tend to collect. So nothing against quartz, but it's sort of like I used to fly. I had my own airplane. This guy and I, who we had this airplane. We flew the airplane all over the place, and we met some guys who like boating, and we'd talk about boating and so forth. And but I really wasn't into boating, and so I had nothing against boating. I just like airplanes. Same thing with quartz. There's nothing against them. It's just not what I'm interested in. And and the same thing with with a lot of people, different types of watches. This is why I think it's sort of cool to find out the kind that you like, the kind that fit who you are, and the heck with everybody else. Wow, I didn't know there was a religious dictum against gold, Abdul. That's interesting, but platinum's okay. How interesting. That is interesting. That's good to know, though. Any good deals for gold watches? Um, I tell you, I'm not sure. All right, because I don't look for gold watches or steel watches. I generally look for steel watches, but sometimes if I find a gold watch that is the same or less price, I'd usually go with the gold. A lot of antique watches. There's loads of antique watches. You got to remember, at least in the U.S., in the 1970s, you couldn't buy your own gold. You had to, yeah, I had to do something else. I don't know. I didn't own any unless you got some gold jewelry or something. And then they said, okay, it's now we're going to legalize it so you can go buy gold if you want. And at the time, gold was $30 an ounce. Today, I think it's approaching $2,000 an ounce. Um, it's and so when it was cheaper, making there were lots of gold watches that were not expensive. And I think if you can find, if you want a gold watch, the one of the places to look would be for old pocket watches or some of the earlier ones from earlier times when gold was much cheaper and they could make watches with it. Even look at watches from the 2000s, early 2000s. They were like $200 or something an ounce, which was a lot compared to 30, but nothing compared to what it is today. In fact, one of the strange things that's happened for the first time, gold has surpassed platinum. Platinum's always been more pricey than gold until now. Okie doke. All right. Later, Brian. Yeah, and that's yeah. You can if you get a gold watch with that's all with a beat up movement, that might be an alternative. Anyway, guys, um, hmm. Hey Jeff, Horology by the Sea listed a Gronfeld 1 Hertz. Oh my God, I love that watch, and I know I can't afford it, but I'll go look at it anyway. Yeah, platinum's been going up. All of the precious metals have been going up. Anyway, oh look, guys, my time's about up. I get a little more time on Tuesdays than I do otherwise. Anyway, thanks for coming. Thanks for wonderful comments you had, and see you next time. Take care.